Subnautica 2 is once again back in the news cycle. Documentation on the lawsuit is now out. We're going to quickly check out the person who dropped it, Charlie Cleveland. This is their Twitter post. It'll be linked down in the description. Same with the lawsuit as well. So he says, "Hello everyone, the saga continues. In my previous post, I mentioned that there would be more to come. Well, today, you can finally read the official complaints the original Unknownworlds shareholders have filed against Krafton. It's unfortunate we are in this situation, but we are doing everything we can make things right for everyone. Openness and transparency is my thing, so we're glad to bring the truth to light." And then this is the post. So just before we get into the lawsuit, I would like to remind everyone, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. 95% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so I really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. I completely understand. In the Court of Chancery of the State of Delaware, Fort Advisors LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, as the representative of the former shareholders of Unknownworlds, they're the plaintiff versus Krafton. So we're not going to read the whole thing because the whole thing is in fact 52 pages, but we're going to read, I think it's the 14 points in the introduction, which gives a pretty good timeline of what their complaint is officially about. So this is the verification complaint. So this is just, once again, legal stuff. So, introduction. Number 1. 4 years ago, defendant Krafton, Inc. purchased Unknownworlds Entertainment, a wildly successful independent video game studio. The deal involved a $500 million upfront payment plus an earnout that could reach $250 million depending on Unknownworlds' performance throughout 2025. This case arises from Krafton's desperate efforts to avoid paying the earnout and its flagrant contractual breaches in pursuit of that goal, which is also why in earlier posts that we saw that this lawsuit was labeled as a contract dispute or something similar in that term. That's why we knew about that originally. Number 2, from the outset, both sides understood that earnout would largely hinge on the next release in Unknownworld's smash hit game franchise Subnautica, underworld survival game that became a global sensation, selling over redacted million copies. I wonder why the amount of copies sold is redacted in the public version. That's interesting, because you would think that would be a public number. But once again, we did know this. We basically, like, from what we know of the complaints, we knew that this was going to be the main contention for the payout. And everyone pretty much knew that. I mean, Subnautica 1, I'm sure is still selling a little bit, but the majority of the company's revenue will be from the new game, obviously. Number 3, keys to Subnautica's remarkable success and to the ethos of Unknownworlds as a company was its release into early access, a model that Unknownworlds pioneered over the last 2 decades. Early access lets players purchase the game while still in development, providing indispensable feedback as they play and allowing the company to improve the game in real time. Early access has helped Unknownworlds build an intensely devoted fan base that operates in symbiosis with the company. It is a relationship that founded on mutual trust, openness, and respect. I don't know if they founded that, but I guess they were one. I guess the original game did come out in 2013, and that was quite a while. Though I feel like we were talking about early access in that time frame as well. Maybe the term early access wasn't used, and maybe Subnautica was one of the first games that used that term, but I do feel like we're already kind of using that term by then. But I understand what they're saying here, that, you know, early access was known, and it was not a secret that that's what they're going to do. Number 4, given its importance to the original success, the company planned to release Subnautica 2 into early access as well. The launch was slated to happen in blank of this year, or redacted of this year, and the fans were eagerly awaiting. Almost 22.5 million of them had wishlisted the game on Steam, the leading computer gaming platform, making it the second most anticipated PC title in the entire world. I wonder why that's different font. It's probably for emphasis. And pre-release playtesting involved hundreds of real users, devoted thousands of hours, drew high marks, and confirmed that the game was ready to meet those lofty expectations. Oh, they had a pre-release playtesting. I didn't even know that. Interesting. Number 5. But the promise of such immediate and enormous success presented a problem for Krafton. Certainly, it eventually wants the game to drive revenue, but a blockbuster redacted launch squarely within the earnout period would likely trigger the $250 million earnout to the studio's former owners and employees. Beyond the founders, many of Unknownworld's dedicated team members were set to receive payments ranging from hundreds to thousands of Wait, from hundreds to thousands to millions of dollars. Oh, okay, interesting. So the 250 million earnout was to everyone, and it just depends. Like it's 250 million in total, I think, from what I can tell. And so employees and owners would be getting the bonus, which is good, or good for the employees, I guess. Number 6, as Krafton CEO told unknownworlds leadership, and blank early access release would be disastrous for Krafton. Okay, so they couldn't afford this $250 million bonus, it seems like. Which, why would you even offer it if you can't afford it? That seems like a bad business proposition. But I am not in big business, so to be fair, they do lie a lot in big business. So it kind of makes sense that they made a promise or said something in a contract, and it turns out they can't do it. Okay, so number 7. So Krafton engaged in months-long campaign to delay Subnautica 2's release. It pulled key marketing materials, refused to follow through with crucial partnerships, and regained on long-standing commitments to handle important pre-launch tasks. Multiple Krafton employees themselves suggest that these moves were for the purpose of frustrating the earnout, despite the earnout's agreement's prohibition on taking actions for that purpose. Okay, so even Krafton employees knew what they were doing, it looks like. Which, I mean, I don't think it doesn't take a incredibly smart person to figure that out, I'm sure. It seems like they were doing something very blatantly. They were like pulling advertising and stuff like that, so it seemed very blatantly. Number 8, even in the face of these pressure tactics, Unknownworlds refused to delay the launch. The game was and is ready for early access blank 2025, is the ideal commercial window for the release, and the agreement gave Unknownworlds complete operational control over Subnautica 2. So rather than cave to Krafton's bullying, Unknownworlds took on these pre-launch tasks itself and pressed forward, which is a noble thing if true. To be fair, this is literally in a lawsuit, so like lying in a lawsuit is crazy. So I assume they are speaking the truth at least a little bit in these writings. Number 9, this left Krafton out of options. Its efforts at delay had failed and the launch was imminent. So Krafton decided to go nuclear. In flagrant disregard of the parties' contract, Krafton terminated without cause their former owners of Unknownworlds, Charles Cleveland, Adam Max McGuire, and Edward Ted Gill, the founders, and seized control of the company. So yeah, they did a hostile takeover, so they didn't have to pay out the 250 million earnout bonus, potentially. Which, on the outskirts looking in, does look like they did. But we also do know from leaked screenshots that the game was still technically behind, but we do know that it now might have been because of their delay tactics or unrealistic expectations of the early access launch. Number 10, Krafton's first decision upon taking over to delay the launch of Subnautica 2 until sometime in 2026. That way, Krafton could keep the game's revenue for itself while avoiding the 250 million earnout it would likely have to owe the founders and other Unknownworlds employees. Yep, okay, that is true. They did delay the game until 2026. That is confirmed. 11. Krafton, however, has gravely miscalculated. I wonder why that's a completely its own statement. 12. First, the backlash from Subnautica community has been immediate and overwhelming. Tens or hundreds of thousands have voiced their outrage that, as one fan put it, Subnautica's soul has just been ripped out. Many have said they will no longer participate in early access. Others have promised to boycott the game altogether. In one extraordinary moment of corporate greed, Krafton has decimated the community's trust that Unknownworlds spent decades building, and in doing so, it has already severely harmed the financial prospects for Subnautica 2. Krafton's ploy, delay the game, avoid the earnout, keep money for itself, backfired. And to be fair, it really has. A lot of the Subnautica community has been very vocal online in Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, every social media platform, saying that like these guys were the soul of Subnautica. And to be fair, they were there the whole time for Subnautica 1 and the other game as well, Below Zero. So it does kind of make sense that the dedicated fans that are online talking about this stuff would be upset. I don't know if the general populace that played Subnautica cares too much, but the dedicated community definitely cares. And it's yet to see how big that community actually is, because I mean, video game players doing boycotts doesn't exactly have a good reputation, so we'll see if that actually does anything. 13. Second, the founders will not stand idly by while Krafton tears down what they've built and ignores its contractual obligations. The earnout agreement promised that founders complete operational and creative control over Unknownworlds, and it has forbade Krafton from terminating the founders without cause. When desperate to avoid paying the earnout, Krafton flatly disregarded both of these obligations among many others. It's interesting that they made it so they can even be terminated at all, but I guess like when they are buying your company for $500 million, who wouldn't want to be able to fire the CEO? So they have to do it with cause at least. So I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense in terms of contracts and stuff like and agreements and stuff like that. Number 14, Plaintiff Fortis Advisors, the shareholders representative for unknownworlds prior owners, therefore seek equitable and monetary relief to redeem Krafton's breaches. No matter what happens next, Krafton's activities have already severely damaged fan anticipation and undermined the potential release of Subnautica 2. Krafton should thus be ordered to pay the full earnout it would have owed had it not been terminated the founders and tanked the blank launch or redacted launch. Plaintiff also seeks specific performance of Krafton's obligations under the agreement, including the return of complete creativity and operational control to the founders. The game, the company, and the community that helped build it deserve nothing less. Okay, interesting. Wait, so Plaintiff also seeks specific performance of Krafton's obligations under the agreement, including the return of complete creative and operational control to the founders. Okay, so basically give them their jobs back, from what I can understand, because I don't think they're saying we no longer want to be a part of Krafton. I don't think they can do that. They would have to buy themselves out or something like that, if I understand correctly, but I don't know if that is what they're asking. I don't even know if they can ask for that, honestly. And these are just the parties involved. So that is the introduction of it. Like I said, the lawsuit is like 50 something pages. It's a lawsuit, so there's a lot of things, the backgrounds and all that stuff. We only wanted to know the introduction, which is good. So this is really good information. And so it seems that according to the Unknown World investors and the 3 individuals, Krafton was sabotaging them so they could avoid the 250 million payout bonus for the 3 owners and the rest of the employees. And if you were to just read this, it does seem like they were. And to be fair, this isn't a lawsuit document, so like lying in a lawsuit document is a crazy risk. Like it is an insane risk to do so. So I'd like to believe that they are telling the truth, and it'll be interesting to see what Krafton has to say in court. They did do a statement basically saying that I'll paraphrase it slightly, like they're disappointed that the lawsuit happened and they are, I think it was like excited or interested to defend themselves in court or something like that. Okay, I have found the statement. It is on a Games Radar article. I'll also link this down in the description if you're interested. So it's update July 17th. Subnautica 2 publisher Krafton has provided Games Radar Plus with a statement about the situation, addressing the game's delay and saying it's disappointed that a lawsuit has been filed. Krafton's decisions were made to ensure Subnautica 2 is the best possible game and lives up to fan expectations. Releasing the game prematurely with insufficient content would have been both disappointing the players, who are the heat of everything Krafton does, and damage the reputation of both Subnautica and unknownworlds brands. Furthermore, it adds, while we are disappointed that Charlie, Max, and Ted have filed a lawsuit to seeking a huge payment, we look forward to defending ourselves in court. In the meantime, Krafton remains focused on what matters, delivering the best possible game as quickly as possible to Subnautica fans. So yeah, so that is their official statement, and I mean it's a PR statement, let's be honest, and not too surprising because Krafton is kind of like it's definitely the big bad in this situation. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do defend themselves in court, because at least from the evidence that we know of right now, it seems to be pretty heavily skewed towards Charlie, Max, and Ted. There were Krafton's remarks about how they weren't working on the game enough before, but the problem is there was zero proof of that, and it's really hard to believe that these 3 guys were not involved at all. Like, I just don't really believe them, really. And it's Krafton saying this with no evidence, so it's like they're gonna be saying anything to suit their case, especially now with an actual lawsuit happening. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if there's any more updates. I'll keep looking on the lookout and be posting updates as we go. But other than that, thank you everyone for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. 95% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so I really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. I understand. You just heard my opinion. I would love to hear your opinion down in the comments down below, what you think about the whole Subnautica 2 situation. If you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads at the Technojelly, all on those social media platforms. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye everyone.